This real estate investing strategy is boring, but it makes me over $15,000 a month in semi-passive income. So this is remote Section 8 rentals. We're acquiring and investing in affordable housing. These are typically 3 to 5 bedroom homes between $50,000 to $150,000. And we could do this, or you could do this remotely. I have never been to the market that I have my portfolio in. I plan to go sometime this year, but I started investing in 2022 and I haven't been there in the 3.5, 4 years since that time. So you could do this completely remote. You never have to see your properties. You don't have to go and change the locks and change the toilet and do all that stuff. You could do this completely remote and build a 7-figure plus portfolio with 6 figures a year in net cash flow using this strategy. So stick around for this video. I'm going to walk you through this process step by step on how you can do this for yourself and how you can build your own cash flowing remote Section 8 rental portfolio. Or if you want our help, we have a done for you service where we can do this all for you. Okay. Now, before we go into the process, this is from my property manager's dashboard. I self-manage most of my properties now, but I do have a property manager who has, these are 9 of my properties. And actually, a lot of these are still sitting in cash, meaning I paid for it in cash and I still haven't done a refinance. So I'm waiting for rates to continue dropping and until I really need the cash. So this is from the last month, which is December 2025. And you could see from these 9 that are in this portal, we have 2020, 1502, 1492, 1302, 1448, 1606, 1490, 1302, 1559. And this is actually my first property here, the 1491. And these don't look like huge amounts in rent, right? But if we're buying properties for 50, 60, 70 grand, and that's what this one here, I bought for $60,500. I put about $10,000 of work into it. So after closing costs, let's just say I'm in this property for $75K. I'm getting $1,490 a month. If you can imagine what the mortgage and interest is, the principal and interest is on a type of loan where the house costs 75 grand, it's just a few $100, right? Like $200-$300. So we're making very good money. These are cash flowing very well. Unlike anything else I've seen, any other real estate asset or stock or whatever, this cash flows like nothing else that I've seen, but this also goes up in time. And if I look at the houses, that especially the ones I bought in 2022, they have more than doubled in value. I've gotten offers on this house. I bought it for $60,500. I got an offer in 2025 right before summer for $135,000. I didn't take it because I don't plan to sell any of these ever, really. But if I wanted to, I could have essentially doubled or close to doubled my money. So let's go through the process and how you do this and why this is, in my opinion, a better strategy than the other ones out there. So step 1 is you have to find a good market, the right market. There needs to be strong, affordable housing demand. This means that there's a lot of Section 8 voucher holders in that particular city. So the Section 8 program, it's a government subsidized program where they pay a portion or all of the tenants' rent depending on their background. And I also, bonus points, like to look for cities where there's a reason to go there. It's not just in the middle of nowhere, right? So Cleveland, Ohio, they have major sports teams for pretty much every sport. They have the Cleveland Clinic, so it's a really good hospital. People go there just to go to the hospital. It's actually a good Airbnb market as well. So if you're an Airbnb investor, it's a good market. There's cheaper prices and it cash flows very well because people go there for that reason. They travel there and they stay there for extended periods of time. So the first thing is to find a good market. There's a lot of interest in Cleveland right now, so it's more competitive, especially if you don't know what you're doing and you don't have a good team. It is difficult to find deals there right now. So if you're an investor there, I'm sure you're very happy, like I am, because you've seen your property values go up over time, even in the past like 1, 2, 3 years. Now, if you have no idea what market to start in or where to look, you can simply just go to Google and say, what are the top 10 Section 8 markets? Or you could do my preferred method, which is to go to ChatGPT or Claude or whatever your favorite AI tool is and tell it what you are looking for and have a conversation with it. Okay? So I'm going to copy this because this is what I'm looking for. I'm going to go to ChatGPT. I don't like the 5.2 model, so I'm going to go back to 4.0. And I'm going to say I'm looking invest in Section 8 real estate. What are the top 10 cities markets with, and it's not in the middle of nowhere. So let's see what it says. I bet you, there we go. Cleveland, Ohio, number 1. Very low entry prices with strong rent to price. This is exactly why we like it, making cash flow easier and consistent demand for affordable units. So Cleveland's actually a more difficult market to get into. If you don't know what you're doing, this is not a beginner market anymore. There's a lot of savvy investors now. There's people with a bigger portfolio, so they're scooping things up and they're willing to pay a higher price. And there's a lot of institutional buyers coming in too, people like hedge funds and whatnot that are coming in and buying more in bulk. So I might look at some of these other cities here if you're just getting started. But if you're working with us, we have a team there. We know the market very well, and we can help you get into these deals when it wouldn't typically be a deal for a normal person. So these are some markets. As I predicted, I thought it would be in the top 3. It's number 1 in this case, and this is my main market. It's Cleveland, Ohio. So you could look at, let's go through this list real quick. Okay, these are all pretty. This is kind of a surprise. Philly. That might be a good area to look. Okay, so if you have no idea where to look, this is how you can find some markets. Now, second step you're going to look for is you want to check Section 8 rents. The great thing about the Section 8 program is they publish their rents based on zip code and bedroom count. So they'll tell you based on 11111 zip code with 4 bedrooms, they'll pay you X amount. And anyone can see this information. It's public information. So we're going to hop over to this window here. This is huduser.gov. And then you can just search for the current year. So it's 2026. This is called the fair market rent determination. And so we're going to select Ohio. And then we're going to go to Cleveland is in Cuyahoga County. And now you can see that we can see all the zip codes, and we can see based on the zip code and the bedroom count how much they will pay. And it depends on the housing authority and the particular area, but housing authorities will typically pay 90 up to 110% of whatever this amount is. Okay, so they'll pay 90% of, let's say, 1780, 2-bedroom home, and 44011, up to 110% of this amount, whatever that is. Okay, so what I'm looking for here is once we start looking for properties, I also want to find rents where it's 2% or more of the purchase price, because that's going to give us a really good spread where we can cash flow. So I'm looking at 2% plus of the purchase price. And rehab also comes into play here. So I'll show you a calculator that I use to estimate and underwrite all of these deals. Now, we have the Section 8 rents. We're looking at the city. We're scoping it out just to get an idea of what is the Section 8 program paying. And you could also kind of cross-reference this with the purchase prices of the homes on Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, any of those platforms, okay? So we're in Cuyahoga County, the greater Cleveland area. And now what we're going to do is we're going to try to search and find some properties and see what this market looks like. This is all free to do, by the way. Okay, every step that we've done, the ChatGPT, they have a free plan. Section 8 rents is public information on the government site. Now we're going to go to Zillow, and we're going to filter for 150K or less purchase price, 3+ bedrooms, and we want longer days on market if we're just looking at Zillow. I get a lot of deals sent to me nowadays because I've been in the market for a while. I have a lot of relationships there. So wholesalers and agents will send me deals and send me a first look at some of these things. But if you need to find properties, you can go directly to Zillow or Redfin. I found my first property on Realtor.com. So I'm going to go to Zillow here, and I'm going to pick out a zip code that I know to be pretty good. I have properties here. So let's see. We're going to go to 44125, and I'm going to click enter. Then we're going to build out our filter. So we're going to go price, and we'll do 3+. I don't always do the bedroom filter because sometimes there's going to be like a 2-bedroom that we can convert some space into a 3rd bedroom. So I've even done a 2-bedroom conversion. So I had a 2-bedroom that had a lot of extra space. It was like 1700 square feet. And we took 2 we took an empty space and we converted it into 2 extra bedrooms, which really jumps the rent. So if we jump back here, you could see the difference between a 2-bedroom rent in this zip code and a 4-bedroom it's quite a bit different, right? So it can make a lot of, you still have to work out the price with the rehab, but it can make a big difference in terms of your cash flow if you can convert empty space like attic or an existing living area into a bedroom. So we're going to go back to this filter. I'm just going to use 3+ for now. And I also want to do, we're going to do houses, okay? And now what we're going to see is in 44125 in this zip code. When I first started buying in this zip code, the purchase prices were like 70 to 75,000. I have 3 houses in this zip code, and they were all purchased for less than, all in with the rehab and everything, 85 to 90K. Okay, as you can see, the prices have gone up quite a bit. So I'm just going to sort by, let's just do low to high to make this easier. And you can see here, we have a 3-bedroom home. I'm also looking for properties. Nowadays, I prefer properties that need less work because we can rent them out faster, especially if I'm working with clients. If I'm doing it for myself, I have a really good rehab team and we could use this for you as well if you're a client. But if I'm looking for properties that I want to cash flow the quickest, I'm going to just look for the ones that are turnkey or near rent ready. So now that we have this pulled up, let's just use this one as an example, 104,500, okay? I'm looking for 2%, where rent is 2% or more, ideally. Sometimes we don't quite get there, but 2% or more of the purchase price. The monthly rent is 2% plus. So we're going to take this as 3 bedrooms in 44125, okay? We're going to go here and we're going to look at 3 bedrooms. So that's this third column, or this 1, 2, 3, fourth column here. And what we get is 1790. So we're not quite there, okay? We're close. We're like 1.7, 1.8% here if we're buying this property. But I want to be at 2% plus. So I'm going to take another zip code that I have a few properties in that I know to be very strong. That's going to be 44137, okay? So if we go to 44137 and we do the same thing, we have the same filters. What do we have here? This one looks like an auction home. I like auction homes. I've bought a few homes on auction. But we're going to let's just take this one for example. These are all auctions, it looks like. So I do auctions. I don't think everyone should do it. If you're buying your first home, it's probably not a good idea. But we'll just take this one here, okay? 75, okay? 3 bedrooms. We're going to go here. Let's see what 44137 does. 2,070, okay? We're over the 2% rule. That's what we're looking for. We want over 2%, where the monthly rent that we can get is 2% or higher of the purchase price. If we can't quite get there, if we're right under 1.8% or whatever, I might still look into the deal, but ideally we're at 2% plus. Okay? So we have found a good market. We checked the Section 8 rents. We found a property using these filters on Zillow. All of this is free. Now, what I like to do from here is I'm going to go and run the numbers. So this will be a separate video. I'll go into underwriting these deals more in a separate video. But what I want to do is I have a sheet, a calculator that I use. I built it for myself, but I use it for clients as well. And I want to look for 30% plus cash on cash return. This means the annual pre-tax cash flow divided by the total cash invested in the deal. We want that to be 30% plus. Okay? So I'm going to bring up this Google Sheet here, and I'm going to make a copy of this template. So I'm going to right click, duplicate, and I'm just going to fill it in with this information. All right, so let's just use this. 75K. Looks like a decent house just on the outside alone. Typically, I'm going to have my contractor walk it and give me a rehab estimate so I can fill this in more accurately. But we're just going to pretend that he's already done that. Okay, so I'm going to just put $12,000 here for the rehab. And we would need to, if I'm really underwriting this home, we want to make sure that we're more accurate. But I'm just showing this for simplicity's sake. So we can also get the property tax number sometimes from the listing. If I go down here, you can see here property taxes are 3328. What is that going to be on a monthly basis? 3328 divided by, that's 277. Okay, so I'm going to fill this in here. 277. What is the 3-bedroom rent here? 44137, 2070. Okay. So we're going to put 2070 here. I'm not going to worry about this. I also like to do what's called BRRRR deals, which is what this stands for here: buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. But we're going to keep this simple. So I'm going to just black this out here so you can't see and doesn't distract you. So I'm going to do this. And I want you to just take a look at this, okay? Now, if we fill in the expenses, typically insurance is going to be about $100 a month, $1,200 to $1,400 a year. Water and sewer, we put that under the landlord. So we pay for that, and the tenant will pay for gas and electric. And then we also have a 10% of the rent, we have it allocated towards repairs and CapEx. That just means any type of major like maintenance things or things that need repairing throughout the year, we have some money set aside for that. If you don't have any big repairs, then that just goes right back into your pocket. Okay, but we put 10% aside for that. So this accounts for all of this. I self-manage most of my portfolio now for reasons that I'll talk about in another video. So I have 0 here. If this was property managed, my property manager charges 10% of monthly rents. So this would be another 207 in this section here. So we're going to use what's called a DSCR loan to finance and purchase this property. We put 10% down. This is an investment loan. They look at the existing or the future cash flow of the property. And with Section 8 properties, these cash flow very well. So it's not very hard to get approved for a DSCR loan, and it doesn't go to your personal side and affect your debt to income ratio. So if you start an LLC and you purchase properties under the LLC, which is recommended, you will be using this type of loan. So we have the purchase price, we have the rehab, we have closing costs, we have our out-of-pocket capital required is around $18,375, and we're going to take this out too because this is only on a BRRRR deal. We're going to take this out. And we're looking at our monthly expenses. You can see down here, based on the Section 8 rent in this area. Again, we have to fully walk the property, make sure everything looks good. But you can see here, we have a $75,000 house with $2,070 a month potential rent. That is unheard of across any other model, right? And the estimated net cash flow is $936 a month if this checks out and we get approved. So have we reached our 30% plus cash and cash return? Yes, we have. So this is actually, sorry, I made a mistake. This is not the capital required. This is for if you're doing a hard money loan. So you want to be looking at this. You're going to be into this deal about $34,500 and you're cash flowing $936. If we take $1142 and we divide it by our capital in the deal, we have a 32.58% cash on cash return. And that means we have 37 months to pay back our initial capital and make ourselves whole again. But that's pretty good, right? Name me another investment where just the cash flow alone, you're making 32% on your money. This is not including appreciation, principal pay down, and tax benefits that you get through depreciation. So this is a very good investment. As you can see, the numbers look really good when you have a Section 8 tenant. In this particular zip code, and like many of the other zip codes, you're not going to get, if you have a regular 3-bedroom house that you get for $75,000 in this particular area, market rent is probably like $1,200-$1,300 a month. So you're getting way higher rents if you rent out to a Section 8 tenant. That's why we like the Section 8 program. And also the government, it's a guaranteed rent check. Up to 100% of the tenant's rent, the government will pay through the Section 8 program. So we like it for the consistency, but also the upside and the higher than market rents. These can be 20 to 50%, sometimes higher than market rent. Okay? So we ran the numbers. We looked for a 30% plus cash on cash return. We got 32% on that deal, potentially. Then once everything checks out, we want to make an offer. So one of the reasons why I like to look for longer days on market is if it's listed for, let's say, $100,000 and it's been on the market for 60 days or so, we can come in at $75,000, $80,000 and potentially save ourselves $10,000 to $20,000 extra, right? Because sellers get desperate. If it's sitting on the market for a while, they're more open to having conversations about having these lower offers come in. And I've gotten many lowball offers accepted. I would say most of my offers were under and way under market value or under the list price. So we would make an offer, we would use a DSCR lender, and we would pay 15 to 20% down. These are investment loans if you're purchasing under your LLC. If you're using a conventional loan, it'd be under your personal side. So if you need a recommendation to a lender and you have a good background, you have no major things on your credit report, then reach out. I can make an introduction. Step 6, once you make an offer and it gets accepted, you would then find and place a Section 8 tenant. So the way that you do this is you can list the property on, there's a couple different sites. You would list it on Zillow. You can also list it on this site here, affordablehousing.com. And you would, in the listing, this is where a lot of Section 8 voucher holders search for properties. You would put something that says Section 8 voucher holders welcome. And that just makes it very known that you're open to having Section 8 tenants. Now, when we're doing the screening, I do have some normal cash pay tenants, but I prefer, like I mentioned throughout this video, that I would want to have a Section 8 tenant because it was higher than market rents. However, there is a bit of a process. There's another month to 2 months that goes on before a tenant can move in because they have to get approved. So you would list your property as accepting Section 8, and then once you find a tenant, you would, of course, screen them and make sure that they fill out the application, their background check, everything looks good, and then you would submit them to the housing authority. So ours would be the Cuyahoga Metro Housing Authority. So you submit them. It's called a RFTA packet. That's just when you find a tenant, you submit them to get approved with the Section 8 program for your particular house. They go through that process. It takes about 2 to 4 weeks. They send you back a rent offer, which basically says, here's the rent that you requested, here is the rent amount that you're approved for, and here's the tenant's portion versus what we're going to pay. And so they have their portion, which gets sent to you in the first week. It's usually in the first couple of days every month, straight direct deposit to your account. And then the other portion, if the tenant has a portion, they would send that to you as well on that same day. So we would find and place a Section 8 tenant, submit them to the housing authority, get them approved. And once the tenant is approved, they do a final inspection. You need to make sure that you know the Section 8 list and what needs to be done to get it approved. And an inspector goes out, they look to make sure that you've checked all the boxes, you did everything to make it safe and the structure looks good, and a tenant can finally move into your house. Okay? So once you do that and you understand the process, then you just repeat this over and over again. And basically what you do is you take whatever goal that you have. My initial goal was I wanted to get to $10K a month in semi-passive income from my Section 8 portfolio. And I set aside how much capital I have. So I wrote that down, and I could look at the market, and then I could reverse engineer what my target was and how many properties that I needed to hit it. If I'm making $1,000 a month, if we have deals like this, right, where we're making $950 or whatever it was, $936 a month, then I need about 11 properties or so to get to $10K a month. Okay, so I can then look at this and say, well, I need this times 10 or 11, or maybe I get more creative with financing, which I can talk about in some other videos. And that's how much capital I need to buy this amount of properties and create that amount of cash flow. Okay, so essentially you're buying your financial freedom. You're buying it by taking a look at these types of properties. And the thing I like about this strategy is it takes a lot less capital to buy this versus like $500,000, $600,000, $1 million+ Airbnb or a commercial property. Okay, so these are the steps. Once you have done your first deal, it's really about reverse engineering what your target goal is, how much cash flow you want to make a month, and then how many properties you need to hit it, and then figuring out how much capital you need and how fast you want to do it, what your timeline looks like. But these are the steps: finding a good market, checking the Section 8 rents, finding properties, running the numbers to make sure that you're hitting whatever your goal is. Personally, if I don't have the opportunity to make $1,000 a month plus on a property, I won't get into it nowadays. That's just where I'm at right now and what I'm looking for. Making an offer that gets accepted and then hooking up with a lender that can help to fund and finance the deal. There's not a lot of lenders that like to do it, so if you need a recommendation, I can make an introduction. Finding and placing a Section 8 tenant. So once you've gone through this the first time, you'll have a much better idea of how it works at the housing authority. And then once you've done this, just repeating the process. Now, if you try to do this on your own, there is a pretty big learning curve, especially if you're doing this remote. There's a lot of landmines and a lot of places you can go wrong. I lost quite a bit of money from trusting people I shouldn't have trusted, bad contractors, bad property managers, bad realtors, lenders who had higher fees than I knew what I didn't really know what I was looking for, so I got charged when I shouldn't have been. And so if you don't know what you're doing, you can lose quite a bit of money. I lost a little north of $70,000 just through bad actors. So you could go through this, try to learn it yourself, or you can work with a team who already has this process in place. We already have the market. We know where the best properties are in this particular market. We have the best team that can make the numbers work. I have a really stellar contractor and rehab team that can make these numbers work. They can make a deal that looks like it won't be a deal be a grand slam deal and save. We often save our clients tens of thousands of dollars on the rehab alone. We can make introductions to anyone in our Rolodex, which includes lenders and property managers and anyone that you need as part of this process. And we can also help with finding and placing and, most importantly, screening Section 8 tenants. You don't want to just put anybody into your house, okay? And then helping you to build a cash flowing portfolio remotely of these types of cash flowing properties. So this strategy is boring, but it can help you reach financial freedom faster than any other strategy that I've seen. What other strategy can you get into for $20,000 to $30,000 on one property that cash flows $1,000 a month, right? I haven't seen anything like it. Every other model like Airbnb, commercial, self-storage, these require a lot more capital to get started, and they often have a lot less cash flow that you can live on. You have to wait a longer time until you can actually start using it. So this model is less capital intensive with higher upside, in my opinion. We have a done-for-you service. So like I mentioned, if you don't want to do this yourself, we have a done-for-you service where we do all of these steps for you. And we help our clients build cash-flowing remote Section 8 portfolios a lot quicker and with a lot less mistakes than if they were to do it on their own. So clients are seeing $500 a month plus in net cash flow, typically $500 to $1,300, $1,400 a month if they have the right property. And these are properties that also go up in value over time. So not only do they have cash flow, they have appreciation, they have wonderful tax benefits from depreciation, they have the principal pay down because they have a tenant in their house who's paying their rent every single month, and they get that beautiful guaranteed government rent checks from the Section 8 program. So if you have at least $30K to invest and you would like to do a deal with me and my team end to end, go to primedoorpartners.com, and there's either going to be like an opt-in box where you can get more information, or there's going to be a video where you can then book a call using a link under that video. But these are the steps. This is a boring, unsexy strategy that makes me $15K a month plus in semi-passive income. This is remote Section 8 rentals. If you want our help in building your cash flowing rental portfolio remotely, reach out, go to primedoorpartners.com and book a call to speak directly with me. So that's it for this video. Talk to you soon.